So hi, everyone. Thanks for joining. So far, I just see a few people, so I'm going to wait at least a little bit, although not too long, because I don't want you to suffer from other people being too late. I hope you can hear and see me okay. Maybe you want to just send me something, some confirmation via the chat, or perfect.
I can hear you and see just fine.
All right. Very well. Just wanted to make sure, because at the moment I can't see any of you. Oh, thank you, Anders. Hi. All right. So as many people actually, Paul is already gone again. As many people actually wanted to join, I'm just going to wait a little bit longer because at the moment we're 7 people and I think it's about 40 something that actually responded. Obviously, I don't expect that many to show up, but yeah, maybe a few more would be great. Hi, Fabian. So this is going to be a playful one. I know that a couple of you know Agile and Scrum quite well, and like Melanie, for example, and others might not know Scrum at all. So I will start explaining Scrum at the beginning because yeah, it's sort of necessary to introduce a framework that is centered around Scrum. So it might be a bit boring, but I'll do it in a way that is super confusing, and so you might not have heard it explained like that. All right. It would be great if everyone could at least turn on the cameras once so I can take one of those screenshots where it's like, oh, look, people joined. And yeah, it's just much nicer to take a screenshot like that instead of just with the names. So since Maya is also connecting, I'm just going to wait a second for her to join. So I probably have at least 9 people in the picture with me. Fatia, maybe you also want to just briefly turn on your camera. That would be awesome.
Are you going to say 1, 2, 3 cheese?
As soon as the cameras are on. It's a good idea. Thank you for the reminder because it's one of those things that I typically wouldn't be doing.
I see Fabian. You don't see Fabian?
Oh, I do see Fabian. It's just Fatia, who now turned the camera on as well. Maya, do you also want to turn the camera on just for a slight second, just for one picture? All right. Well, thank you very much. And I want to say 1, 2, 3, cheese. Now just pretend that you're all enjoying this. All right. Very cool. So, oh, Matt, hi, you're also joining. All right, I'm gonna walk through the framework now. And as I said, no. Actually, I've been told that it's a good idea to start introducing yourself when you do something like that. So I'll do that. Hi, I'm Jens. I'm a personal agile coach for solopreneurs. I studied math and economics. Later in my life, I learned how to feel. So I turned away from the purely rational being an economist and like a mathematician. I was a team lead and later an agile coach in the IT sector of banking and the finance industry. And I'm certified in many things that I just thought I'll mention here. So Scrum, Kanban, agile coaching, but also a lot of the one-on-one coaching stuff. And for me, it's all about bringing both together in one way or another. one fun thing about myself is that I'm a digital nomad and I've been traveling by bike quite a lot. Currently, I'm very lazy. I just take the train within Germany. Um, it's been really exhausting. And I'm a scanner personality. I don't know if anyone knows the term. So I'm interested in plenty of things and I'd like to start and do them all. And I need to find a way for myself to actually focus on some things, because otherwise I'll continue to be a procrastinapreneur. So someone that procrastinates their entrepreneurial endeavors. If my life would be Friends, I would be Chandler. So excuse all of these jokes that I'm going to make. They're just so much easier to bear for me than actually having feelings. I'm joking. Yeah. So I already said, some of you know Agile quite well. Maybe you want to share in the chat on a scale from 1 to I have been part of the actual Agile manifesto. How well do you know that? So like 1 to 10, how well do you know like Agile, Scrum, all of this?
So what is the scale?
The scale is 1 to 10.
And one is I have been part of.
One is you have never heard of this, and this is the first time that you're actually gonna be confronted with Scrum. Okay. I'm curious how confident you are. All right. 0, 4, 6, 7, 8, 9. So seems like many of you are already quite familiar with Scrum. I'll just still explain it like you've never heard of it. And I explain it in a way that is, starting from a different angle, I want to say. So some of you might have heard that story of a professor at a university dividing all of their students into 2 teams. One of them would be graded by the best picture, the best 5 pictures that they actually take over the course of the semester. And the other one would be graded by the quantity of pictures that they take. Anyone heard that story? No. Oh, really? I've read that in several books, actually. And the outcome of all of this is that, the people that took just many pictures, they are the ones that actually took the best pictures in the end. And the ones that really were trying hard to just create the best quality and just hand in one, they actually did not fare very well. That story is completely made up. I actually tried to find a source for this because, I mean, which university would do that? And I think it's completely messed up as well. Because a couple of days ago, I backed up all of my pictures on the phone. And last year, I took about 20 to 25 pictures each day. So I should really be good at this, but I'm absolutely not. I don't know, like if you look at your phone, are you happy with the quality of the selfies that you're taking and all of the landscapes by just doing it a lot? I don't know. So what is missing in this? I'll illustrate that by another weird example. I've been taking an online writing cohort class, Ship 30. I know that some of you have as well. And there they talk about digital writing versus legacy writing. Legacy writing is you retreat to a cabin, you stay there for 3 years, you pretend you are thorough, and you just write. After 3 years, you come back and you present to the world like, hey, look at this book. And if you've done a good job, then everyone is happy about it and will read it. But most likely you've just written something that no one actually cares about. Because how would you know? The modern writer would actually write a tweet, then extend that to an atomic essay, as they say it, write a blog post, continue expanding the idea, and just seeing, okay, it resonates with people. Actually, they are interested in that. The difference here is getting feedback. And in my perspective, this is also what actually is Scrum all about. It's about getting feedback in periods of time. So if you imagine delivering a project as a Scrum team and you have a deadline in 2 years, 3 years, I know at least one person here, Melanie, who I've been working with on the project that was running for, I think, 4 or 5 years in total back then. And the customer never actually got anything delivered apart from documents. What Scrum says is deliver your customers something regularly, get their feedback, and then iterate on the feedback and see what is actually working. That sounds so silly, but yeah, they call it in the Agile circle empirical process control, which I would say is just a fancy way of saying learning from experience instead of just trusting that you're right and know everything from the start. So once per period of time, you would actually talk to your clients and you would actually get their feedback, show them something, and would then adapt. So one funny thing that I've been thinking about is if I were to explain my grandmother what Scrum is, I would say, hey, Granny, so we changed something at work. Instead of doing a 3-year project and then at the end showing our customer, we show them regularly and get their feedback. And I mean, this is not my grandmother, but she would probably be like, yeah, why didn't you, well, what else would you do? So for me, it seems very common sensey, but probably not for everyone. And I have another grandmother who would probably just say, hey, Jens, do you want some cake? So you can decide, are you just looking to get some cake, or are you applying common sense and just showing your clients, your customers, something regularly? And that's what Scrum is all about on the one side. If you want to show your customers something every sprint, however, you need to make sure to create value. And that is also one of those fancy terms, whatever that means. So it means they have something that actually helps them to do something. You have to give them something valuable. And for example, if you're starting as a freelancer, if you say, if you're starting as a solopreneur, as something like that, and you do your tax returns, they are not valuable for your customer. So you should never do a sprint and just work on something internal, but always have something to show to someone else. So at the beginning of every sprint, you would ask yourself, who is this valuable for? How is this valuable for them? And what can they see? Or even better, what can they use? In the writing example, it would be, okay, what am I going to tell them? Is this like a tip for a mom of 3 kids, how they can arrange life better? Is this something for, I mean, in my bubble, online writing is just what everyone is writing about, because this is apparently what is everyone is interested in. Is this something for them? Who is this for? And what can they actually do afterwards? So yeah, so you can also not only ask yourself, hey, do I want a cake, or do I want to apply common sense, but also, am I just doing the tax returns? All right. Diana, you're asking, would you say Scrum works well with healthcare technology? I think this would really distract us from like just briefly flying over the topic. I would say, and I hope other Agilists agree, that yes, you can apply it there. It's going to be a bit more tricky because you would have regulation and all of this. And I think very often people refrain from it and say like, oh, it's not possible because we have all of these regulations in place. But then again, it's also commonly used in the financial sector and other heavily regulated sectors. So it is definitely possible. But I want to do as little Scrum as possible and do as much Go Scrum Yourself as possible.
Thank you.
Yeah, no worries. So we have those sprints, periods of time. So we always like Agilists have fancy ways of saying things. So a sprint is just a period of time. A sprint review is just a meeting where your clients actually tell you, hey, was this valuable or not? Sprint planning is, what is it that we're going to create in the next period of time? You set one goal that you actually want to focus on, and then you start working on it. Also part of Scrum, but something that we won't really touch today, is we have a fancy to-do list that we call backlog. Basically, so if you think of a shopping list, that's not a backlog. A shopping list could be something that is made up of things of all kinds. They have no connection to each other. Backlog is more like a recipe for something that you want to cook, where you're like, okay, the outcome is I want to cook, I want a cake, like the cake, probably the cake. Let's go back to the cake. So I have all that is on there is the ingredients. What are the things that I actually need in order to do this? We have strict time boxes for everything. So everything needs to take a certain amount of time and not longer. For example, the sprint has a certain length. Then these events that I'm talking about, the sprint planning, sprint review, has a certain length and not longer. And we have 3 different roles: product owner, scrum master, and developer. But I want to show you how to just use this for one person. So roles are not really that important, apart from the product owner that we'll briefly touch on a bit later. All right. So that's Scrum so far. But why is it actually called Scrum? It's because we don't only have the sprints and the sprint review and the sprint planning, but we also have something that is a daily Scrum. And I know that half of you, probably more, know what a daily Scrum is. I'm just going to explain it to the other ones as well. So Scrum originates from Rugby. It's the term for the team coming together once per day. That's why it's a daily Scrum, and actually aligning what is the thing that we need to do next. The Scrum, the daily Scrum, is also where you're not only focusing on the customer, but you're also focusing on the team. So you're not just looking for external signals on, are we on the right track, but also for internal signals. Are we doing the things in the right way? Do we feel good? Are the processes supporting us? And so on and so forth. So all of what we've been talking to so far about Scrum is only focused on your customers, on the people that you're creating value for. Now, the daily Scrum is the first event where you're looking at both things, internal and external signals. Does it make any sense for the people that have Agile experience? I'm just going to assume yes. Just going to assume yes. And there is another thing that actually is taking care of internal signals. The sprint retrospective. And if you think of internal versus external signals, just something to illustrate, also to, well, I don't know, talk about myself a little bit more. So one of the dreams that I have or had, I'm not sure anymore, is about cycling to India. And I know we have people from India who joined today. So hi, Anuradha. But we also have people in Germany, and it's quite a different distance for me. So it's about 10,000 kilometers, would take probably a year or something like that to go there. And it would be a terrible idea to just start cycling there without actually trying shorter distances before. So I did. I actually cycled around the Iberian coast, Iberian Peninsula. Earlier this year was just 2,500 kilometers. I was working at the same time. And what does all this have to do with what we're talking about? I could work. Clients were happy. All of the meetings were working, all of this. But the internal signals showed me that this just really sucks hard. I need a much better bike. I need a different way to organize my life around this. I would like to have some fun instead. So in order to give a reason why I'm explaining the story is the retrospective. You can think of the, do we need a better bike meeting? So every now and then you can ask yourself, do I need a better bike? Do I need to change something about the way I'm actually doing things? This was the very hand-wavy way of describing Scrum. Some core principles without too much jargon, I hope. I think, Maya, you were the only one that didn't have any Scrum experience at all. I hope you sort of get the gist of what it's about. Maybe you can just send me a thumbs up or something like that. And no one else completely disagreed. And so I'm just going to continue what I actually would really show you. Hey, 2-4, that's at least something. All right, so the principles are generally, we work in iterations, we call them sprint. We plan new value that is created during each of those sprints. We check what they said, our clients, or we ideally just meet them and ask and show them, hey, this is what we're doing, get feedback. We check daily if we are on the right track and adapt if we're not, just see, okay, what is the next thing we do? And we optimize our system on the way there. There are many things missing here, so don't think that you know Scrum now. 4 is probably, yeah, right around the understanding that you could get from this. All right, so that is Scrum, but how can you go Scrum yourself as a solopreneur? So I'm just going to show you the 2 steps to actually get you ready to go Scrum yourself. First of all, the precondition is that you are the product owner of your life. Second of all, you define your stakeholders, and you define both your stakeholders, the professional ones and the personal ones. You recruit your inner Scrum team, and then you just block time and go. So those would be the 2 steps, and I'll dive into them in a second. All right, so step 1, you are the product owner of your life. What does that mean? The product owner in the Scrum setting is actually the person that has a vision for the product and has a goal where it should go. They are the ones that say, hey, this is what the product should look like. They actually are the ones identifying, hey, yeah, this is a feature that makes sense. This doesn't really fit with the vision, and so on. If you are the product owner of your life, that means that you're not just doing what everyone does, but you're actually doing what you really love to do. And you just identify what is the aspect of my life where I would really like to do a change, where would I probably need to experiment a little bit, and then you just do that, try and adjust your vision according to the gathered experience. This sounds quite simple, but then again, there is a massive pull to just get back to the regular track and just do what everyone is doing again. One thing that I think is a brilliant idea in this situation is having a vision board. So you just know, okay, these are the aspects of the things I do. Where do I live? Who do I work with? What do I create? What do I do apart from that? Who do I meet? And maybe you even want to do that in a way that looks good. I just put all of these things on there, but I know plenty of people who have printed out vision boards, and things come to life if you just see them every day. All right, so let's pretend you are the product owner of your life. Then we have step 2, identifying your stakeholders. There are 2 different kinds of stakeholders. First of all, you have your professional stakeholders, the customers or clients that you have, maybe some companies that you cooperate with, or other people that you do a project together with. But then you also have personal stakeholders. So people that actually should be happy about your personal life as well. And for both of these, you can ask yourself, who do I want to make happy? Who do I want to be happy about my life apart from myself? Ideally, both of these are individuals. And just to illustrate that, I'll show you a couple of my key stakeholders. So I'm single, I don't have kids, I don't have a family to care about. So it's just about me. Future me should be happy about the things that I do. For example, present me is probably nervous and not so excited about being on camera because it's not something I'm used to, but future me hopefully will be proud of me. Then my mom, because I like her and I just want her to be proud of me. In the spiritual sense, I want the universe to be happy with me and just see, hey, I'm on the right way. And future kids should also think like, oh yeah, that's a good story that you can tell there. And maybe, yeah, you can also ask yourself like, hey, who are the people in my life that I really want to be happy about what I'm doing? And who are the ones where the opinion is probably not that important? Coming back to the example of writing on Twitter or something like that, if you are writing for single moms who take care of kids and everyone that is responding to the stuff that you're doing is, I don't know, guys in their 40s who are single, I don't know if anyone fits that category, then you might have to actually change directions because those are not the people that you actually want to make happy. All right, on the professional side, for me, it's freelancers creating their first service offering or solopreneurs creating their first product offering. Another person that I really would like to help with the stuff that I'm doing is anyone that is similar to my past self from 5 years ago. Because I wanted to do something, and maybe some of you also want to do something that is more entrepreneurial, but I didn't really start. And I always thought, oh, the conditions are not right. I don't know where to start. And I didn't have the accountability. I didn't have the skills to just continue in small iterations. And that's what this whole framework should be for people like that who actually have a big idea and just need help, a little bit of accountability, a little bit of support to get there. Obviously, since I'm also an agile coach for companies, I'm also transforming companies are interesting if they actually really want to change and not just put the label, hey, we're doing agile onto them. All right, so we have the fact that you're the product owner of your life and you have your key stakeholders identified. Now it's time to recruit your inner Scrum team. Maybe some of you have heard of the inner team, an idea of Friedemann Schulz von Thun, that is, well, a way to illustrate the different voices that we have in our head. So it's the idea that whenever you have differing opinions about something, that it's just different aspects of yourself, and it helps to identify them as team members of your inner team. So you can then afterwards mediate between those parties, you can coach them in a way, and you can see, hey, how can I make everyone happier? In the Go Scrum Yourself setting, I suggest that you take it the scanner personality way, which means you look at all of the different interests that you had, all of the projects that you had in the past. Maybe if you go back in time and look at your 6-year-old self or your 12-year-old self or someone in the past, you had a project. I mean, for me, it was when I was 6 years old, probably 8 years as well, dinosaurs, because I'm a nerd. And some of these things just got lost on the way. These passions, these interests, these desires, but they are still part of my personality. And so I think it's a good idea to reflect them somehow and see what that gives me as feedback about my life. So you can list all of the projects that you've done in the past, all of the interests that you have, and then cluster them. And if you're me, you give them funny names. You might as well just be a grown-up about it and give them just an adult name. But too much of a grown-up you shouldn't be, because otherwise you would not even think about going to Scrum Yourself. And if you've done that, great. Now you can have a conversation with yourselves. My inner Scrum team, for example, looks like this. I have a part of mine that is the rebellious adventurer that just wants to break the rules and push limits. And then I have der typische Deutsche, the typical German in myself, who is just, hey, that is risky. Can we take a safe way? How can we avoid that risk? Can we please do what everyone is doing? And you can imagine that those two have conflicts quite often and have different opinions on what I should do with my life. All right, now we have the fact that you have a vision of your life. We have your key stakeholders, and we have your inner Scrum team. What can you do with all of this? So you can schedule times in your calendar and just do planning, review, and retro at these times. Planning, hey, what am I going to do in the next week, two, whatever your sprint length is, for the clients that I have, for other stakeholders that I have. Then at the end, review, hey, did they like it? Did they not like it? What is the feedback I got? And you can retro, how did everyone in my inner Scrum team like what we were doing? How happy were they? And if you want to take it even one step further, you can do your daily Scrum meditation style, which looks something like this. It's actually me in my head giving each of the inner Scrum team members a couple of seconds just to say, hey, are you happy with the plan for today? Are you happy generally with how the last week went? For example, I'm currently somewhere in the middle of nowhere in a house where, like, I have neighbors, but I don't talk to them because they're weird. And the bonding chatter in myself, the person that just wants to connect with other people, they might be very depressed after a while. But if I check in daily, I find that out quite early, and I can get back to a balanced kind of life earlier. Now, all you need to do is, or all you need to have as a prerequisite is massive self-discipline and willpower to stick to this process. Because let's face it, you're just on it on your own to do this. So let's get to the last of the two steps that I promised you, which is you can join the next Go Scrum Yourself cohort in order to make this a little bit easier. There, you can learn and apply Go Scrum Yourself in a group setting. So we get together every Monday and just plan the next sprint, look at the last sprint, do some retroing together. A fun thing that I can promise you works really, really good is role-playing your review and your retrospective. So for example, I could go to our group setting and say like, hey, could you pretend to be the rebellious adventurer in my team? And you are the typical German. And I'm just going to moderate and see what the conflict between the two of you is like. Sounds weird, but it actually works quite well because you step out of yourself and really have these two parts have a conversation. Or you can have someone pretending that they are, I don't know, that single mom that I was talking about, and someone else pretending that, I don't know, who else is one of your key stakeholders. You get feedback from your peers, and we stay connected via Slack. So there's where the daily goes, and you don't have to just meditate. All in all, Jeff Sutherland, the creator of Scrum, is saying, Go Scrum Yourself is easy to understand, but it's difficult to master. And I can promise you, he never said that, but it's still true. It's still much, much easier if you have someone around you. There's actually the saying that Scrum is very easy to understand, but very difficult to master. So yeah, and actually, I'm so confused because I might have been a bit nervous and might have been talking a little bit faster than I expected. So we're done already pretty much. Maya, is it an English group? Generally, yes. if I would have plenty of people from Germany, I would not be completely against doing it in German as well, if that is the question. And that's it. Yeah, basically, that's all about the framework. That's all about what we do in the cohort. I personally have the experience from the cohort 0 that I've been doing, that it helps quite a lot to focus and helps people to beat their procrastination, to be held accountable and frequently continue to plan the next step. And if you have any other questions, I would be enlightened to answer them.
Hey Jens, yeah, I have a question.
Yeah.
Could you maybe elaborate on how this cohort is going to look like? Is it just an accountability group where you try to figure out the steps by yourself, or do you give like a structured way of how to do step 1 to 4 until you are able to do this Go Scrum Yourself method by yourself?
So, great question. Thank you very much for asking. So we would be going through those steps in the group setting, and I would give feedback and help people to actually figure out, okay, what is the next step? How should you look at things? I'm a bit of a pain sometimes when it comes to how is this valuable to your customer? Who is this actually valuable, what you're planning? And so on and so forth. What it's not about is if you, for example, I mean, I know that, I mean, there would be people with different things that they actually want to do. So I can't tell you the steps that you actually need to do to achieve that. And I assume that most of us know what the next steps would be, and that very often we are just not taking them. So it's more about getting support to actually take them, put them in chunks that are small enough so you can actually do them. And then, I mean, I started out with the question, are you taking pictures and pictures and pictures and pictures, or are you improving your pictures based on the feedback that you get? And most of us listen a lot to the voice in our head, which typically says, hey, you are not good enough for this. At least for me, it very often does. And very little listen to what we actually get as feedback from other people. So I support people to just really listen to what they get told by others and trust that more than the voice in their head. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, thank you very much. Just to elaborate or to clarify with the steps, I meant the 4 steps that you just showed us, like creating your inner Scrum team, and maybe if you have trouble with that, how to identify those different areas. But yeah, I think I have a good view now of what the cohort is going to look like. Thanks.
Yeah, thanks for clarifying that. So yes, this is going to be the first couple of sessions that we're going to do, where we actually figure out, okay, who is on your inner Scrum team? Who are people that are part of your stakeholders? How can you actually identify them? And yeah, we work through this in iterations as well. And yeah, Diana, am I pronouncing that right?
Yep, you are, Diana.
Right.
Yep. So this is being recorded. How do we get a copy of the recording?
Oh, good question. I will send you the link to YouTube where I just uploaded as a private video.
Okay.
After the webinar.
Okay. And then if we have questions later, what's the best way for us to reach out to you?
I would say there's 2 ways. First of all, LinkedIn is always a good place because I spend too much time there. And then if you go to goscrumyourself.com, there's actually a link where you can book a call with me, because I actually just want people that I have had a conversation with to be part of this. Just to make sure that we're on the same page, because it's a very interactive session that we typically have, and I don't want someone to hold the group back too much and want this to be a smooth experience for everyone. So yeah, if you would have a conversation, want to have a conversation, you can just book a call there, or just write to me via LinkedIn.
Yeah, I love the concept. I need to let it sink in a little bit. I am a solo practitioner. I'm a project manager, but I work with companies that are building, products and services and what have you. And I'm definitely trying to introduce them to the idea of Scrum and Agile. And it's just not so easy, especially, me being the only one on the team, right? So so very interesting topic. And I need to get more information, but I'll give you a call later or what have you.
Yeah, please do so. I mean, at the moment, I can take as much time as you want. I'm quite flexible. We still have 18 minutes left in the time that was scheduled already. But if you want to have a private conversation, let's do that.
Okay, thank you.
You're very welcome. Anyone else with any question or anything that I could also use in order to iterate on what I'm doing here?
I just asked a question, Jan.
Oh, yeah.
I guess your trip to India is an epic, I guess. And how many iterations would it take for you to get there? And I'm also curious, which states are you planning to visit?
Oh, to be honest, I think it might take a while before I actually do that, because I'm quite sure that I would have to take like a year off or something like that in order to do it, unless I find a way to work efficiently enough from the road. And regarding states, I think you are much better at recommending to me what I should visit than the other way around. But I don't really have a clue at the moment. I just since I've gotten into yoga, I'm more and more interested in where this is all originating from. And also it's one of those epic stories that I want to tell to one of my key stakeholders, my future kids.
Nice. Of course, you would want to visit all the metros. That's a given. And yoga I think is practiced in all places now, but I would also concentrate a lot more in New Delhi if you'd like to be there, the capital. So I was just curious as to why you wanted to do a bike tour to India. And then, if you were to go Scrum Yourself and then make this as an epic, and how many iterations it's going to take you. But you told me your answer, and that's brilliant. And all the best.
Yeah, thanks a lot. I mean, I would have to break that down into user stories first, and then, I don't know. It's gonna take a long time.
Word of caution though. But then if you're planning on traveling and using your computers in India, that might be pretty difficult. So you might have to take an entire time vacation if you want to be out there. So but I'm sure you'll enjoy. All the best.
All right. Thank you very much. So I see that people are now dropping off. And I just wanted to say, like, hey, can we take at least one another picture? Because there's more people now than there were at the beginning. But it's fine. I want to say, if there is any more questions or any more feedback, I'm, as I said, always available via LinkedIn. I'm also happy to have a chat about all of this. And thanks so much for the questions and your time. And
Jens, I got a question right now, a further question. Yeah. So given that I'm hooked, what is the actual next step to take to go on board with this cohort?
I mean, we've been talking for a couple of times before, so I wouldn't mind if you really want to join. Let's have a chat again offline and figure that out. Because as I said, typically I want to have a conversation with everyone and then afterwards check. But since we have been talking before, I think we can just arrange on the details. So Deanna, you also, or is that answering your question to sufficient detail.
Yes, thank you. Yes.
All right, perfect. Diana, you, I think, wanted to say something, right?
No, do I still have my hand up?
No, I think you unmuted yourself for a second, but
oh, I thought we were leaving. I was going to say thank you and goodbye.
I see. All right. Yeah, if there aren't any more questions, then you're right. Then we can say goodbye. And yeah, thanks again, everyone, for joining. And I enjoyed that quite a bit. I hope you did too. And see you another time.
Thank you so much.
All right,
Thank you,
thanks, Jens.
Bye.
All right.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you.
Bye.